Our first guest tonight was one of the targets of a recent Lincoln Project attack ad. He's also a juror in the ongoing impeachment trial, and he's got some strong opinions on China and how the Biden administration is or isn't treating the communist nation's aggression. Let's bring in Republican Senator from Arkansas, Tom Cotton. Senator, welcome back.
Good evening, Shannon.
All right, let's start where the big news of the night is. This impeachment trial looks like it will wrap up this weekend, or has the potential to. E.J. Dionne Jr., writing in the Washington Post, says those who vote to acquit the former president will now own it all. The incendiary speech that made the nation's capital a killing ground, but also the months of incitement and lying that built up to the violence. They're putting a lot of import into how you may vote.
Well, Shannon, first off, let me just say what I've said since the day the House passed this rushed article of impeachment. I think it's beyond the Senate's constitutional authority to have a trial to convict and remove from office a man who left office now more than 3 weeks ago. But second, I have to say the president's lawyers did a very good job today rebutting the specific charges in that article, as well as highlighting the lack of due process in the House and to a certain degree in the Senate trial as well. They also hoist a lot of Democrats in their own petard. I got to tell you, there were a lot of uncomfortable looks and shifting in seats on the Democratic side of the Senate chamber as they played clips of people like Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders repeatedly saying that they're going to fight for this and fight for that, and other senators talking about punching people in the face, or for that matter, Kamala Harris talking about how violent unrest in our streets last year was not going to stop, as her own campaign was trying to bail out violent felons. So I thought it was a very strong day for the president's attorneys today.
Okay, so maybe get to a vote as early as tomorrow on Saturday on that. In the meantime, you've been a very vocal critic of the information we have not gotten from China, the information they have provided and the veracity of that. So there's a lot of speculation about how this administration will interact with China. One of the concerns you've had are about these Confucius Institutes, which are based in a lot of U.S. universities. They are funded in large part by the Chinese government. They say that they're about language instruction and cultural interaction. The Trump administration was proposing a rule that would cause them to be more transparent, for these universities to have to explain and expose the information in their connection with these institutes. That rule is going away, at least for now, under the Biden administration. Why should we be worried about that?
Well, it's just another example of the one-sided concessions that Joe Biden and the Democrats are willing to make to our enemies. These Confucius Institutes are a lot more than cultural exchanges. In many cases, they are the way that the Chinese Communist Party funnels money to spies across the country, trying to steal secrets from advanced scientific laboratories on campuses, trying to employ professors that then funnel technology back to China, as we saw last year at Harvard University, as we've seen at University of Arkansas as well. The Trump administration, its final day, simply said these Confucius Institutes and colleges would have to disclose some of their funding sources and the money to which they put that funding. The Biden administration stopped that on day one, and they've not given any indication that they are going to continue the crackdown on these Confucius Institutes to the extent that they are being used as fronts for Chinese espionage. It's a very troubling sign that it's one of the first things the Biden administration did when they came to office in a relationship with communist China.
Another one of their top priorities is this $2 trillion America relief package. It's aimed at COVID relief, but we know there are all kinds of other things packed into it, things that both Republicans and Democrats have raised concerns about some of the stuff tucked in there. But today, the CDC released scientific guidelines, it says, for how to safely reopen schools. Not all teachers need to be vaccinated. They think there are ways with mitigation matters that you can actually open those doors. Now, a release from President Biden on this says it can only be achieved if Congress provides states and communities with the resources they need to get it done safely through the American Rescue Plan. The full statement basically says, got to have this full $2 trillion so we can reopen schools. How do you interpret that statement?
Shannon, it's false and it's outrageous. The Biden administration and the Democrats are putting teachers' unions ahead of school kids and parents. The purpose of our schools is to teach our children. It's not to employ Democratic donors. But that's exactly what the Democrats see when they see these teacher unions demanding that schools not reopen or that they get 100% vaccination of all teachers. And then in some cases, they still refuse to come back. Look, in Arkansas and so many other states, our schools have been open since August, applying the same common sense standards that the CDC finally put out today. They should have put this out months ago and made it clear that schools can be open, that teachers can teach without being vaccinated, and with reasonable, prudent measures that schools can be safe for both teachers and for students, because students need to be back in school. And now the Biden administration is saying that after the first 100 days, maybe 50% of schools can be open one day a week for some of their kids. We've already passed that standard in so many states. Schools need to open now. The Democratic Party needs to put kids ahead of their political donors.
And very quickly, do you think the president will stand up to some of those teachers' unions and big donors?
He hasn't shown any indication to do so in his first month in office, which again is outrageous that the Democratic Party is willing to sacrifice the mental and the physical and the social well-being of these children and to put all this strain on their families as they scramble for child care. It is time to open schools across America.
Senator Tom Cotton from Arkansas, we will watch and see you this weekend as we cover the trial, where we think it'll be wrapping up, and as each of you as jurors then head to a vote. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Shannon.